Amid the vibrant chaos of Mexico City, a relentless tide of abductions has begun to surge, gripping the metropolis in a state of fear. Criminal gangs are targeting wealthy individuals and holding them for ransom. The families of the victims are being extorted for large sums of money in exchange for their loved one's safe return. As the young man, known only as 18, strolled through the bustling city streets with his girlfriend, little did he know that danger lurked around the corner. Suddenly, without warning, he was snatched away by unknown assailants, leaving his girlfriend in shock and disbelief. As the police detective, Victor Fuentes consoles the grieving family. The wealthy father of 18 receives a call from Daniel Sanchez, a human trafficker who seems to have a keen interest in the young victim's $10 million life insurance policy. Samuel Ramos, a businessman based in Mexico, engaged in a serious conversation with his legal counsel, Jordan Calfus, about a recent troubling event that deeply worried Ramos' wife, Lisa. This occurrence had convinced Lisa of the necessity to employ a bodyguard for their 9-year-old daughter, Lupita "PITA" Ramos. Ramos displayed reluctance towards this idea, indicating potential financial constraints. It was disclosed that PITA previously had a bodyguard who had been dismissed recently. Calfus emphasized to Ramos the necessity of appointing another bodyguard to renew their ransom insurance. He proposed that they contact Paul Rayburn, a former CIA operative who currently runs an executive security firm. In a separate incident, a dead drop was coordinated by Fuentes and the father of a kidnap victim. Later, the victim, known only as 18, was discovered alive near a freeway overpass, stripped down to his underwear and blindfolded. Rayburn recommended the family seek assistance from his former colleague at the CIA, John CREASY. As Ramos perused CREASY's resume, he couldn't help but be impressed by the diverse range of counterinsurgency and counterterrorism activities listed. CREASY, exhausted from the constant exposure to death and horror, has turned to alcohol as a means of coping with the weight of his experiences. In a desperate attempt to end his life, he tries to commit suicide. However, his plan is thwarted when his gun misfires. According to Rayburn, bullets have a way of seeking out their rightful targets. Although CREASY isn't particularly keen on working as a bodyguard, let alone with a young person, he finds himself in need of employment. As time passes, CREASY's initial impatience begins to dissipate, and he finds himself gradually warming up to the child. In the absence of her parents, he steps in to take on the role of a guardian, offering her guidance and support. He also helps her with her swimming lessons and competitions, providing coaching and advice along the way. With his guidance, she conquers her fear of starter pistols and transforms it into a desire to spring into action at the sound of one. As CREASY stood before her, PITA presented him with an emblem of saint, Jude, the patron saint of lost causes. She explained that she had purchased it for him with her own money. As soon as CREASY dropped her off at the piano audition, she noticed a vehicle that seemed suspicious driving past. To her surprise, a couple of police cars blocked off the surrounding street, making her feel uneasy. As PITA steps out of the building, she suddenly freezes in her tracks. Without hesitation, CREASY reaches for his gun and fires a shot into the air, mimicking the sound of a starter pistol. The sudden noise startles PITA, causing her to quickly turn around and run away. As the gun battle raged on, 4 of the attackers met their demise. Among them were 2 corrupt police officers. CREASY was left seriously wounded and unconscious after the battle, which gave the surviving kidnappers the opportunity to grab the child. As CREASY lay unconscious in the hospital, the police chief took to publicly ridiculing him. He accused CREASY of murdering 2 police officers, despite his current state of being unable to defend himself. Mariana Guerrero, A journalist observes that the police officers were in uniform and driving squad cars despite being off duty. She finds this to be suspicious. Miguel Manzano, her contact from the Federal Ministerial Police, stated matter-of-factly that the police were corrupt. After CREASY had recovered, they made the decision to speak with him. Calfus' desire to keep the police out of the negotiation for PITA's release is thwarted by the tragic deaths of 2 officers. As a result, the kidnapping becomes a police matter, and Fuentes assumes control. He reassures the family that PITA's safe return is likely as long as they follow his instructions. Sanchez made a demand for a dead drop ransom of $10 million in exchange for PITA. Despite being instructed to come alone, Ramos was accompanied by Fuentes to the drop. As the drop was underway, the kidnappers were suddenly ambushed, causing Ramos and Fuentes to make a hasty retreat. The rage emanating from Sanchez was almost tangible as he delivered the heartbreaking news of his nephew's demise in the surprise attack. He placed the blame squarely on Ramos, stating that the tragedy could have been avoided if he had followed his instructions. "It is said that PITA is lost to them forever, and it is assumed that this means she has passed away." As Rayburn became aware of CREASY's predicament, he quickly took action to assist him. He arranged for CREASY to be taken to a secure location where he could recuperate from his injuries and regain his strength. Once CREASY had recovered, he made his way back to PITA's home. There, he made a solemn vow to Lisa that he would seek revenge on all those who had a hand in the kidnapping, as well as those who had gained from it. With the assistance of Guerrero and Manzano, CREASY discovers that the dishonest police officers are affiliated with a formidable criminal organization known as La Hermandad, which translates to the Brotherhood in Spanish. CREASY proceeded to abduct and inflict pain upon multiple members of the Brotherhood, coercing them into divulging the identities of those implicated in the abduction operation, among them Fuentes. With Guerrero's assistance, the protagonist discovers that Fuentes is scheduled to travel through the city in a heavily guarded motorcade. From his hotel room, CREASY sets up his sniper's nest and takes aim at the armored vehicles that are escorting Fuentes' limo. With a rocket launcher in hand, he unleashes a powerful attack, destroying the vehicles. Once the dust settles, he heads down to the street to confront the remaining guards and engage them in battle. Following a prolonged shootout with CREASY, during which he employed sophisticated guerrilla warfare tactics, CREASY proceeded to commandeer the limousine and render Fuentes unconscious with a blow. During the interrogation, it was revealed by Fuentes that he had ambushed the dead drop. He explained that he had organized several dead drops in the past and thought that it would be an easy way to make some money. Fuentes pleaded for mercy, claiming that he was merely a contracted professional, much like CREASY. CREASY's face twisted in disgust as he spoke. As CREASY turns his back and begins to walk away, Fuentes is left alone with his fate. He spends his last few minutes on this earth screaming at the top of his lungs until the explosive finally detonates, ending his life. Upon arriving at the house, he is met with a gruesome sight. Calfú's headless corpse is found floating in the pool. As he confronts Ramos, the latter admits that he was on the brink of bankruptcy. Calfú's then proposed a scheme to fake PITA's abduction, enabling Ramos to claim the insurance payout. Most of the arrangements had been made by Calfú's, who then reassured Ramos that PITA would be spending a few hours watching cartoons in a safe house. As greed consumed Fuentes, things took a turn for the worse. Ramos, in turn, held Calfú's responsible for the situation and ordered his execution. CREASY places the handgun and a solitary bullet on the table. It's clear that this is the same weapon he had previously used in a failed suicide attempt. He recalls the words of Rayburn, who had advised him that bullets have a way of finding their rightful targets. Following CREASY and Lisa's departure, Ramos resorts to using the gun to take his own life. CREASY discovers that Manzano's men are electronically monitoring him as the search for Sanchez intensifies. As Guerrero made her way home, she felt a sense of urgency to publish Sanchez's photo in the newspaper. However, her plans were interrupted when a gang member attacked her. The assailant threatened to take her life if she went ahead with publishing the picture. Despite any reservations, the paper ultimately decides to publish the piece. The resulting headlines boldly declare Tiempo el miedo. Fear has a voice. Once CREASY discovers the whereabouts of Sanchez's brother, Aurelio, he manages to enter his apartment. CREASY was wounded in the chest by Aurelio, but despite the injury, he managed to chase after him. As Aurelio makes a desperate attempt to flee the scene, he jumps into a VW bus and speeds away. However, his efforts are quickly thwarted when CREASY manages to wound him. In his weakened state, Aurelio loses control of the vehicle and crashes into a large truck. CREASY escorts Aurelio to his apartment and proceeds to apprehend Sanchez's heavily pregnant wife, Reina. Aurelio is being tortured by him, while Reina is compelled to page Sanchez. Eventually, Sanchez is contacted and called back. As Sanchez revealed that PITA was still alive, CREASY's determination to kill him intensified. A proposition is made to release her on the condition that CREASY surrenders himself and spares Aurelio's life. Agreeing to the plan, CREASY leads Lisa to a secluded countryside location for the exchange. PITA rushes to her mother as Aurelio and CREASY hop into a car that quickly accelerates away. As CREASY lay in the back seat, he succumbed to his gunshot wound. The emblem of Saint Jude, which PITA had given him, slipped from his grasp and fell to the ground. The story concludes with an epilogue that discloses the fate of Sanchez. It turns out that Manzano killed him during a police raid that day. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more videos like this. Your support keeps the reels rolling, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next recap.